Welcome, everyone. At this time, Lisa Young will take a roll call to see if a quorum is present.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members of the committee, when I call your name, please respond. Richard Allen, Benjamin Bitter, Manuel Castillo.
Present.
Thank you. Tracy Conaway, Wendy Kreitz.
I am here.
Thank you. Michael Denby, Jesse Duarte.
I am here.
Thank you. Jack Mincallis.
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you. Brian Kehoe.
Present.
Thank you. Paul Montes. Amy Moreno. Present. Thank you. Patrick Murphy.
Present.
Thank you. Robert Parks. Aaron Red. Nick Russo. Nick Russo. JB Shaw. Harold Singweza. Ramona Simpson.
Here.
Thank you. Robert Vondenacker. Mr. Chair, we do not have a quorum.
This is Rich Allen. I just showed up.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, we still do not have a quorum. Would you like for me to go through the list again?
I believe Nick Russo was here but didn't answer.
Okay,
Benjamin just joined us as well.
okay. Then we have a quorum.
Sorry, guys. Thank you for me.
All good, welcome.
Mr. Chair, we do have a quorum.
Great, thank you. The meeting of the MAG Solid Waste Advisory Committee is called to order. All members are participating virtually. Please remember to mute when you are not speaking. If you are attending by phone only, press *6 to unmute. We operate our committee meetings in full transparency, giving the public access to committee meetings, materials, and discussion. The public cannot view the chat comments. As a result, we are disabling the chat feature in all committee meetings moving forward. If you need technical assistance during a meeting, please contact the helpline at 602-452-5095 or contact MAG staff. We appreciate your understanding in helping to maintain transparent discussions for the benefit of the public. Right now, next order is a call to the audience. So an opportunity will be provided to members of the public to provide input through written comment to the Solid Waste Advisory Committee on items that are not on the agenda that are within the jurisdiction of MAG, or on items on the agenda for discussion but not for action. Members of the public are asked to submit written comments related to this meeting through the MAG website at azmag.gov/comment and indicate for which meeting the comment is intended. Comments may be sent at any time leading up to the meeting, but must be received at least 1 hour prior to the posted start time for the meeting. Comments received prior to the deadline will be read out loud during the meeting. Comments must not exceed 3 minutes in length, and a total of 15 minutes will be provided for the call to the audience agenda items, unless the Solid Waste Advisory Committee requests an exception to this limit. Please note the comments received for agenda items posted for action will be read at the time the item is heard. Have we received any public comments?
Mr. Chair, we do not receive any comments.
Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda would be the approval of the June 8th, 2021 meeting minutes. Right now, I just ask that we review and approve the June 8th meeting minutes. Do we have a motion from the group to approve the meeting minutes?
This is Rich Allen. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
We have a motion from Rich Allen. Do I have a second?
This is
And
Ramona
Bitter.
Simpson, Town of Queen Creek. I will second.
Perfect, thank you. Is there any discussion? Okay, a roll call vote will be taken at this time by Lisa Young.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members of the committee, when I call your name, please state your vote. Richard Allen,
Won't let me up. Aye, sorry.
thank you. Benjamin Bitter,
Aye.
thank you. Manuel Castillo,
Aye.
thank you. Tracy Conaway, Wendy Kreis,
Aye.
thank you. Michael Denby, Jesse Duarte,
I'm going to decline because this is my first meeting, so I'm not sure about the minutes from the last one.
thank you. Jack Minkalas,
Aye.
thank you. Brian Kehoe,
Aye.
thank you. Adam Kurtz,
Aye.
thank you. Paul Montes,
Aye.
thank you. Amy Moreno,
Aye.
thank you. Patrick Murphy,
Aye.
thank you. Robert Parks, Aaron Red, Nick Russo,
Aye.
thank you. JB Shaw, Harold Singweza,
Aye.
thank you. Ramona Simpson,
Aye.
thank you. Robert Vandenacker, Mr. Chair, we have 13 ayes and 1 abstain.
Thank you, Lisa. Next item on our agenda is the City of Mesa Food to Energy program with Lauren Whitaker from the City of Mesa. The City of Mesa recently completed a food to energy feasibility study to evaluate the technical and operational and financial feasibility of collecting commercial food waste, pre-processing it to remove contamination, and then co-digesting the food waste at Mesa's water treatment plant. Co-digesting would create renewable natural gas that would be captured clean to natural gas pipeline standards, placed in the natural gas utility, and used to fuel Mesa's fleet of natural gas solid waste vehicles. Right now, Lauren Whitaker will do a presentation on this energy program, and I appreciate you coming today, Lauren. Whenever you're ready.
Okay, thank you. All right, so Lauren Whitaker, I'm a special projects manager with the City of Mesa Environmental Management and Sustainability Department, which is kind of a combination of our solid waste division, environmental compliance, and sustainability groups. Next slide, please. I was asked to speak to the committee today about the City of Mesa Food to Energy program and feasibility study that was completed last year. Next slide. So this chart shows the general idea of the food to energy program. You can see at the top, we would collect food waste from commercial customers, then take it to a pre-processing facility where we would remove the packaging and other contamination to create a slurry. That slurry would then be taken to our Northwest Water Reclamation Plant, which has excess capacity. And the byproduct of anaerobic digestion at that plant is natural gas. So when you add food to that, you get even more natural gas. We would create renewable natural gas, which can be used in different ways. You can use it for cogeneration of electricity, for its heating value, or transportation fuel. From there, we would clean up the natural gas to pipeline standards, put it into Mesa's natural gas utility, and then fuel our collection vehicles. We have a fleet of solid waste CNG vehicles that it would fuel. There are significant incentives from the EPA through the Renewable Natural Gas Program to use renewable natural gas as transportation fuel. And then we would use that, go back to the business, collect the food waste. So it's a circular process. Next slide, please. Mesa is uniquely positioned because we do have the solid waste fleet of CNG vehicles. We have our own wastewater treatment plant, which has excess capacity. And then we do have our own gas utility, which is in a small part of Mesa, but we do have a gas utility that we can put the gas into. Next slide, please. Some of the benefits of renewable natural gas in this program are that we would avoid the typical greenhouse gas emissions from either flaring the natural gas at the wastewater treatment plant or taking the food to the landfill, where you'll still have greenhouse gas emissions. Sometimes they will actually grow crops specifically for biofuel. So this is made from actual waste, the biofuel is. We would have a local supply of natural gas. We would extend the life of the landfill. And as I mentioned, EPA does have incentives through the renewable fuel standard. Next slide, please. So our feasibility study, we wanted to look at this program and kind of take it to a smaller scale. We looked at the operational, technical, and financial feasibility of a program like this in Mesa. We just finished this up in January of 2020. We had many internal departments working on it. We also worked with Arizona State University, City of Tempe, and our consultant was Arcadis for this project. Next slide. We also had several partners. So what we did is collect food from different groups that would kind of represent a wide variety of potential customers. So we had a food bank, we had a public school, we had a grocery store, cafeteria, restaurant, and all of them participated in the feasibility study. Next slide. For collection, we collected small amounts of food from these partners. There was minimal contamination. We did have pre-processing, which I'll show you on the next slide. Our feedstock analysis showed that we had a good mixture of materials, and we developed a food waste collection service model. All of the partners were really enthusiastic about this program. We did accept the items with packaging, and it was easy for them to dispose of the food waste in a positive way. Next slide. So here's a couple pictures of what the smaller scale, we call it bench scale testing, looked like. So we had basically an industrial garbage disposal, and we would hand remove all the packaging, although there is equipment that will do that on a larger scale. We would create this slurry, which you see there in the middle in that drum. It kind of comes out like we would joke it's like a hummus texture. And then on the right-hand side, you'll see the bench scale testing that happened at ASU. So ASU would take samples of our sludge from the water treatment plant and then take different samples of the food waste that we collected and put them into mini versions of an anaerobic digester. And that way they could calculate the amount of biogas that's produced, and other information was gained for us. Next slide, please. So what we did is we established safe operating parameters. By doing that, we could see how much food we can put into the digesters. We identified warning indicators. So sometimes digesters can go sour where their pH decreases or there's other chemical warnings of digester upset. We also increased our biogas production. We noted up to 40% increase in the biogas that normally would just come off the wastewater treatment plant without the food. And we also worked on an initial design for the pre-processing of these materials. Next slide. Our biogas operations, we looked at this a little bit for the feasibility study. We determined what our gas system capacity was, that we needed an interconnection. We developed RNG specifications internally with our energy resources department, and we developed monitoring procedures. Next slide. We also looked at the financials quite a bit. We did an economic evaluation that was presented as a sort of a detailed Excel scenarios. So we looked at capital improvement costs, life cycle cost, net present value, payback period, and did a sensitivity analysis. Go ahead to the next one slide, please. So this was presented to our council back in January of 2020. Since then, I will say that the financials have changed significantly due to changes in the RIN market, which is part of the renewable fuel standard. The RIN market has actually increased, so the incentives are even higher to do projects like this. You can see that we looked at power generation on the left, heating value, D5 RINs, which would be if we added food waste to the digesters, and then D3 RINs, which is just taking the water treatment plant gas. Go ahead to the next slide. So the issue with this slide, which you might have seen, is once you add food waste, you have a significant positive environmental benefit, but you have a higher capital cost and operations cost, and you get less incentives, and you have a much longer payback period. And that's because of the way that the renewable fuel standard is set up currently. So as this slide shows, food waste and fog receive lower value incentives, but wastewater treatment plants without food, landfills receive higher value incentives. City of Mesa and ASU are working with EPA, the Department of Energy, the National Renewable Energy Lab to help find a solution to the issue right now. Next slide, please. Let's see. So we are currently in design for phase 1 of the project, which we're calling Flare to Fuel. So we're upgrading biogas to generate the D3 RINs. So that's without food waste added. We're going to inject those into the natural gas system. This will supply about 50% of our solid waste fleet of our annual natural gas consumption. And we are projected to complete that around summer of 2023, complete the construction of this project. Next slide, please. So moving forward, we're looking at future phases, developing a pre-processing facility, introducing food waste to the wastewater treatment plant, and then evaluating other wastewater treatment plants for their ability to clean the biogas. Go ahead to the next slide. We are monitoring incentives and policy changes with the new administration, and we are working with partners to address that RIN market issue where we get less incentive for adding food waste. So we are working on developing a methodology for quantifying cellulosic conversion to methane in complex waste streams. So it's complicated, but we're trying to figure out how to split the cellulosic content to get better incentives. Next slide, please. I'm happy to take any questions from the committee at this time. Thank you.
Great, Lauren. Thank you. Great presentation and a very interesting concept as well. Do we have any questions from the group? I guess not.
I have one question. This is Rich. How much tonnage were you guys running through there in your pilot program? Do you have a tonnage amount?
A very small amount, Rich. We were using like 35-gallon barrels, so
Okay.
very small.
Well, and you were mentioning 50% of your fleet in the future. How much tonnage does that take to get to your 50% of your fleet?
We were looking at approximately 40 tons per day.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Lauren, speaking of your fleet, would that would encompass the large side load vehicles as well as like inspection vehicles or smaller vehicles as well?
It's mostly our larger side load vehicles and front loads. So the larger solid waste vehicles, anything that runs on natural gas.
Are there, and maybe I missed it, are there incentives to run vehicles with natural gas, the larger vehicles? I know there's some regulations on diesel coming out that could push a lot more cities in that direction, but are there incentives out there for that?
There are incentives to run the vehicles on renewable natural gas, and that's through the renewable fuel standard, which EPA is in charge of that program.
Great, thank you. Any more questions for Lauren?
Chair, this is Ramona Simpson. I had a question. Lauren, how would you get the material from the restaurants and things? So would they end up having a large dumpster? Have you guys kind of worked on the logistics of collecting at a larger scale yet?
Ramona, so we've looked at it a little bit through the feasibility study, and it does depend on the partner. So some groups may have significantly more food waste than others. Just for the feasibility study, we looked at barrels, but there are other ways to collect the food waste in larger quantities.
Great. Well, I'm excited to hear how your program continues. So thank you.
Thanks, Ramona.
Any more questions from the group? I believe that would be it. Lauren, thank you once again for the presentation. Awesome program. It's neat to hear about stuff like this. So appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, item number 5, would be variance plan for frequency of collection. Thomas Hansen from Maricopa County, Michelle Ogburn, Arizona Department of Environmental Quality, Maureen Meza, Arizona Department of Environmental Quality, and Masood Armandi from Arizona Department of Environmental Quality will join us today to talk about the frequencies of collection. According to the Arizona Administrative Code, R18-13-308, garbage is required to be collected twice per week. The rule also states that a variance from the required frequency may be granted to allow for the collection of garbage once weekly if a plan is prepared that demonstrates no public health hazards or nuisances will exist and that fly breeding will be controlled. An overview on the variance plan requirements and how they relate to the current recycling conditions will be provided today by Maricopa County and Arizona Department of Environmental Quality. Are we ready for the presentation? Perfect. And who will be doing the presentation?
This is Tom Hansen. I want to give people an opportunity to introduce themselves first. Maricopa County will present for the practices within Maricopa County, but I want to give ADQ an opportunity to introduce themselves. and other Maricopa County staff that are present to an opportunity to introduce themselves.
Perfect.
Good morning. This is Brian Kehoe with Maricopa County. I am part of the Solid Waste Advisory Committee, and I was requested by the MAG leadership to address what we're going to present here based upon some questions, and maybe a refresher was needed due to some other municipalities having questions on exactly how the program works. So that's how this got started. Tom Hansen, who is the managing supervisor for the Water and Waste Division within Maricopa County, was kind enough to put together a presentation for us. And he will, again, this would kind of be a refresher of what's been existing out there. And if there are any other questions that aren't covered within this program overview, Thomas would be more than happy to answer at the end of his presentation. So thank you.
Thank you.
So hi, good morning. This is Marina Mesa. I'm one of the permit writers with the Arizona Department of Environmental Quality. So I'm here to, if you guys have any questions with the final granting of variance, we're here to help.
Thank you.
And I'm Michelle Ogburn. I'm the manager for the solid waste group over at ADEQ.
Good morning. My name is Masood Ajmandi. I'm an engineer in the ADEQ solid waste group.
Welcome. Thank you.
And morning, my name is Brian Nisley. I work with Tom at Maricopa County. I'm a manager for the solid waste and on-site water treatment program for Maricopa County.
Hi, this is Blanca Caballero. I'm the Deputy Director of the Maricopa County Environmental Services Department.
Okay, this probably won't take till then, but Brian Nisley and I have to duck out at 11:30. So in the event that it goes to this point, Greg Epperson will take over for me. My name is Tom Hansen. I'm with the Water and Waste Management Division with Maricopa County Environmental Services. We have oversight when it comes to solid waste practices within Maricopa County, particularly related to transportation of waste, storage of waste, collection of waste. We do inspections of waste haulers. That includes refuse, non-hazardous liquid waste haulers, medical waste haulers. We also have some inspect public mobile public facilities, and we also oversee the refuse collection variance program. Next slide. This is Maricopa County Environmental Services vision statement and mission statement. Next slide. So as you kind of already indicated, Arizona Administrative Code requires R18-13-308 specifies the frequency of collection for garbage, refuse, and rubbish. And essentially what I did is I made the presentation is just a bunch of information, and I'm going to summarize it for all you guys, our guys and girls out there for, and then you guys can read through it as you're at your leisure. And then when it comes to approval of variance or frequency, variances to the frequency of collection, those can be granted by Arizona Department of Environmental Quality upon submission of an acceptable plan approved by the local health department. And the local health department in Maricopa County is Environmental Services. Next slide. So that was Arizona Administrative Code. This brings us to the local ordinances, Maricopa County Environmental Health Code. And you'll see that we have a lot of regulations or you'll see that there's similarities at the beginning, but then we have some additional regulations on top of it. And so we specify the frequency of collection, which is similar to before, but in B, this is where we kind of diversify a bit. You're required to have at least more than 5 permitted vehicles to collect refuse within Maricopa County, within that area. And a variance can be granted upon proof of no public health hazard or nuisances will exist. And then the department is required to inspect at least 1% of all containers on a variance. Next slide. And then this essentially says that anyone that wants to apply for a variance needs to submit an application and pay the permit fees for it. And then any prior to the start of a variance collection, those that will be impacted need to receive notice of that change. The customers. Next slide. And then you have, this essentially says that this prescribes a minimum level of service, this approved variance, so you're welcome to go above and beyond what you're approved in the variance for services. And then in the event that the plan requires Arizona Department of Environmental Quality approval, we'll send it to them, and any plans that don't require the state's approval will become effective within 30 days of this department, Maricopa County Environmental Services Department approval. And so those typically, what those are is we have a delegation agreement to some of our activities, and we've been delegated final approval for all unincorporated areas within Maricopa County. So any cities, any incorporated areas have to receive ADQ approval as well as local approval. And then the final requirement is, or final regulation is that it could be revoked if a public health hazard or nuisance exists. Next slide. And so typically what we require on plans, oh, sorry, this is actually what has to be provided in the notices. And so part of the plan is that you got to develop a notice to the customers, letting them know what, when this comes into effect, how their services will be impacted. If there's some sort of violation found in their containers, what they need to do to correct it, or what the impact of not following your requirements will be. And so this essentially gives you the different points of the minimum points of what a notice to the customer would be. And then next slide. So the plans that we require typically include, and this is not definitive for all plans, they vary, but you have to provide evidence that you have more than 5 permitted or refuse haulers with in operation with the department for that area. You'll annually update Maricopa County with the number of refuse containers on a variance. Demonstrate that no public health hazard and nuisance will exist. You'll have to do some sort of method of field auditing to ensure that no nuisance or fly breeding is occurring. Provide quarterly reports of those field audits and corrections made. Provide some sort of method of addressing inspections done by Maricopa County where there are non-compliance issues found in the field. And then plan to identify and replace damaged containers. Also, customer communication plan, which we just talked about. Details of refuse stream reduction to support the variance from the frequency of collection. Details about the container, that it's sufficient size, that it's labeled, that it'll be maintained and cleaned. And then route map and days of service for those areas, and then plan for reporting, a plan for essentially updating the department when the collection area or days of service change. So because of our responsibilities for inspecting 1% of the containers, we would like updates on where we should be looking, where the service occurs, so that we're providing efficient service to you guys. Next slide. And then so everyone that's on a variance has to maintain an operational permit, and it's maintained and renewed annually. We inspect 1% of those containers on that variance. And then the inspection reports have, date of inspection, who inspected it, number of units inspected, the type of violations occurred and where they occurred at. So you guys can respond to those locations and either give educational content or whatever your method of resolution is for those customers. On the right, you'll see a little image of the violation codes that were developed in the late 90s, early 2000s. And this was done by committee. It included the state, counties, and cities in Maricopa County that came up with these different violation codes and their point system. Next slide. And then, so as I would have to do a record request to find out much more than this, but to my knowledge, variances have gone back, variance requirements have gone back to the 1980s. The first one that we issued was in 1993 for Rio Verde HOA, which isn't in operation anymore, but you guys can see a list of the current operational variances that are occurring in Maricopa County. They are all pretty similar in plan type and in operation. All of them are on 1 day a week refuse collection and 1 day a week recycling collection. Next slide. And then I guess this opens up the floor for questions.
Thanks, Tom. Do we have any questions from the group?
Yeah, this is Patrick Murphy with the City of Mesa. I'm just wondering, over the years, we've been asking if we could make modifications to those codes, specifically to do away with the variance component of it, since the recycling and the trash every week has been working. It seems some of this is outdated, and that was one of the reasons why I wanted this to be discussed over the years.
That would be, it looks like it'd be a dual, a need for dual consideration from Maricopa County and ADQ. Obviously, anything that ADQ started working on, I'll let ADQ speak to on that standpoint. If someone from ADQ wants to.
So my understanding is that you want to look at revising the codes and the need for variances. Is that correct, City of Mesa?
Yes, one of the thoughts was to have where it says garbage to be picked up twice a week, just to say where it's picked up once a week, as long as the city or the municipality or agency, however you want to phrase it, has a recycling program.
Okay, I believe that would require a statute or rule change. So we would have to take that under advisement and it would need a sponsor.
Okay, and I'm not familiar with that terminology. What does sponsor mean?
We would need someone to speak on behalf of this change to the legislature to get their buy-in and approval to get them to approve changing it. It's not something ADQ can just change, unfortunately. So we'd have to have discussion, we'd have to have stakeholder meetings. It would be a process.
Yeah, understood. So is that something that an individual city would do, or working with the League of Cities?
The more support you have, the easier the sell. So you
And
could
is
do it as
this
an
a-
individual city, but if you had others, it would be better.
All right, is this something that ADQ and the county think that they could support?
We'd have to go back and talk to the rest of the group at ADEQ before answering that question.
I from Maricopa County, I can't speak for Maricopa County. I manage the program. I would want director to have input, but we would obviously need to see what, because what you gave is pretty general. You know, once we pick up, as long as there's a recycling program, I guess what is, you know, what does that recycling program look like? You know, I think we would need to know a little bit more before we could give, you know, yes, we could support or not. But we would be certainly willing to discuss any of these items with you guys.
This is Harold with Avondale. Tom, or whoever's managing the slides, can you go back to the list of cities that currently have variances? You know, I think, so that's a pretty decent amount of cities and towns within Maricopa County that are asking for a variance. So I think that alone provides a good support to relook at our current state statutes in regards to, you know, pickup, you know, trash and waste pickup. What the actual solution is, you know, maybe if you have waste pickup once a week and recycle pickup once a week, that could be fine. But I think, you know, since 1980, that's quite some time, and the industry has changed tremendously since then. So I'm not sure if that's something holistically as MAG could help, you know, put together a team that might want to look at potential future solutions that would obviously include environmental services for Maricopa County and ADEQ as a joint group working together to bring this up to, as was mentioned earlier, for someone to sponsor it. But I think that we would probably get good feedback and, you know, positive reviews from, I'm sure, most city councils and city mayors on changing this variance. So I think it's really up to the group here as a whole with MAG to try to find a potential good change, whatever that change may be. And I think would require a working group. So that would be my suggestion to the group, to put a working group together if there is a consensus of wanting to potentially change the state statute of that's currently out today.
This is Ramona with the town of Queen Creek. So I think what we're also saying is that we need a sponsor to be a state legislator, right, to bring it to the floor for consideration to make a change of that kind, to change the code.
That's my understanding. It is required, but I think prior to getting a state legislator to sponsor this, I think we have to have a proposal of what the change needs to be first before we find someone, or at least get the feelers out there on who may want to sponsor this. But a solution has to be brought up in order for, I think, for a state legislature member to take this up as a sponsor. Let's, step one is I think put a group together and then get some feelers, get some of our MAG resources to help out maybe in regards to looking at a state legislator that might be interested in taking this up.
Definitely a topic that we've discussed before, and something that definitely needs to be looked at. I mean, considering, discussion as 1980 was when this was put together, and there's definitely been changes to the solid waste industry since then. I know just from an operational standpoint, some cities are looking at changing the rate of collection, especially during the pandemic. We had some struggles with, I'm just speaking on behalf of Goodyear, we had struggles with service that changed the rate of collection, and there's other cities out there that have changed their recycling programs as well. So there's definitely some discussion that could be had with this. Do we have any more questions or comments from the group?
I guess, can we make a motion that we form a work group on this from the MAX subcommittee?
Yeah, motion to put together a work group.
Mr. Chair,
yes.
this is
Julie?
Julie. This item is actually on for information and discussion.
Okay.
Can't be taking any action on this particular agenda item at this time.
All right, thanks, Julie. What would be the best approach to discuss this then? Would this be a future agenda item that we could discuss?
Yes, I could take this information back and let others at MAG know kind of the interest of the committee.
Perfect. Thank you, Julie. And if there's no more questions from the group, then I appreciate the time you did for the presentation today, and thanks for the conversation. Thanks for joining us today.
Absolutely. If you guys have, you guys have my information. If you guys got other questions, you can send it my way, or I can get you, get you any type of feedback that I can provide you.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you, Tom.
Okay. Have a good one.
Item number 6 on the future request for future agenda items. The topics or issues of interest that the Solid Waste Advisory Committee would like to have considered for discussion at a future meeting at this time. Under item 6, there's an opportunity. So anyone have any suggestions for future agenda items?
This is Patrick from the City of Mesa. However you want to word it, but a setup of a working group for the variance plan discussion.
Perfect. Thanks, Peter. Any other future agenda items? If not, we'll move on to the next portion, will be comments from the committee. Right now, as an opportunity will be provided for Solid Waste Advisory Committee members to present a brief summary of current events that are going on in your cities. Committee is not allowed to propose, discuss, or deliberate or take actions in the meeting on any other matter in summary unless a specific matter is properly noticed for legal action. Now is the time for committee members to report on activities of interest occurring in their agencies. I will go ahead and start. City of Goodyear, we're currently in the process of doing a route study for our bulk item removal. The growth that we've had within the city has been we've had a lot of growth, let's just put it that way. And it's really changed the dynamics of our collection schedule. So the last time we had a route change was over 10 years ago, and we're finding that a lot of our routes are unbalanced right now. So we're in the process of working with an outside contractor to put together a new plan for routes, hopefully to get us through the next 5 years. But we're finding that even 5 years is probably not going to get us where we need to be at. So it's the changes are just so much that it's just hard to predict where we're going with a lot of programs. This also impacts our side load collections as well. We actually contract through right-of-way disposal, so this will also impact the way they do their collections as well. We've recently switched to curbside HHW collections from a regional event. We're getting ready to gear up for our next event in October, so that's a scheduled collection. It's been a popular service with our residents, and we'll be moving forward with that shortly. And we're also in the process of working with ADOSH. We're part of the voluntary protection program that we're working through right now. So we're working diligently with them to review a lot of our programs, safety-related programs. We will be meeting with them tomorrow just to kind of go over how our safety programs operate. We're very excited about working with them to help improve safety within our divisions here at the city. With the result of trying to become BPP certified. So looking forward to working with them on that. So those are some updates from Goodyear. Anyone else would like to chime in from the other municipalities? Start with, looks like on my screen, Lauren.
Hey, Adam, I'm not a member of the committee, so
Yeah, sorry
I'll pass
about
to
that.
Patrick.
Yeah, that's okay. Patrick?
No, nothing really. We just did a major boundary change effective Monday to adjust for all the growth that Mesa's had over the last couple of years. So that was fun.
Always fun. Jack, do you have anything? Jack McCullis?
No, pass. Nothing here.
Okay. Manuel Castillo, you have anything from Scottsdale?
Yes, we've begun outreach on our new collection day schedule. That'll begin November 1 of this year. It'll affect in one way or the other, trash or recycle or both, about 95% of our residential customers. So outreach has begun with that. October 9th, we have our yard electronics recycling event scheduled. And I believe that is it.
Great, thank you, Manuel. Who's next? Is it Brian? Brian Kehoe, you have any updates?
Nothing new from Maricopa County. Thank you.
Okay, Nick Russo, any updates?
Yeah, this is Nick. No major updates from El Mirage. Thank you.
Perfect. Hey, Wendy. Wendy, you have anything to update on?
I don't, but I did want to appreciate or mention that I appreciate Lauren's presentation. That was really interesting. I enjoyed it. Thank you.
Great. Ramona, you have any updates from Queen Creek?
Hi, yes. So in October, we're planning on premiering our new bulk widget through Recollect, which for scheduling bulk online. And we're pretty excited about this feature because not only will the customer get a confirmation as soon as they submit, then the information will also go directly to our third-party provider, who's Waste Connections, and it goes right into their software system. So we are reducing a lot of the manual entry on both sides. In addition, we get a lot of information on the back end. The customers will be able to select what they're putting out for bulk. And so we'll get a better idea of the composition of our bulk services. So we're pretty excited about that program. In October, we're also doing another of our quarterly recycling collection events for electronics, metals, tires, paper shredding, and we also do latex paint. And I'm not sure if at this one, but we also partner with the sheriffs for prescription take back. And at our events, we have put those online as well that people need to register, and they get a little fast pass, so that we're a contactless event that we're going to continue to do. And we are actually award winning for this program through the 3CMA Savvy Awards. So we're pretty excited about how we're able to outreach to the residents, continue to have these programs, but also be safe for both our staff and the residents. So we're looking forward to continuing that program.
Great, thank you, Ramona. I'm sorry, who's 062804? That's funny, it shows up as a number on my screen, so I forgot who that was. Oh well, we can move on. We got R. Allen. You have any updates for us? Nope.
No, no updates, sorry.
Thank you, sir. Paul?
No updates at this time.
Perfect. Benjamin?
Yeah, I'll give a quick update from town of Florence. Our citizens have free dump privileges at the waste management dump that's here in town, up to 10 trips and up to 5 tons per month per household. A huge benefit to our residents, obviously. Waste management just increased the price to us that they charge the town by about 25%. And so we'll be going out to RFP here in the next couple of weeks for a new bulk trash provider. Just by way of context, we also have curbside bulk pickup through Waste Connections or RAD. So lots of options here, but we'll be getting that RFP on the street here in the next couple of weeks.
Great, thank you, Benjamin.
Got it.
Tracy, do you have any updates from Chandler?
Yeah, we're still, we're wrapping up the end of our cost of service and rate study. We're also piloting some tablets that our field staff / inspectors will have in their trucks, and they can get work orders and enter that information on the fly. And hopefully we'll have that rolled out by the end of the year. For Adam or anyone that does a route change, you know, we did one a few years ago, just the big focus is always on those people that will be impacted. We had a lot of feedback from residents that days weren't impacted, but the time of day was impacted. And it was kind of funny just to hear about, you know, residents that think via, you know, the trash or recycling gets picked up in the afternoon and didn't put their can out till late. So should we do it again or make any changes? We've made it emphasize that, you know, over and over again that, you know, cans can be picked up anytime during the day and not to get too set on the time of day. So just a heads up when you're making any changes.
Yeah, I have a funny story about that. I have residents that time the amount of drinks they have during the day to when the truck comes, and it's interesting conversations that we have. But yes, people do time the truck. So definitely something to consider when doing a route change. Do we have anyone else that wants to update us? I'm sorry, I probably missed a few people. Okay, so with that, business is now concluded. Now, so I guess we'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
This is Patrick, so moved.
Perfect. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, guys.